Hey guys, today is October 25th, 2025. Title of this video, are we about to see a new virus emerge? So, I see a lot of connections that are present right now, connecting with Bill Gates, the World Health Organization, the pi connection, the 314. As I've been saying, the next COVID variant would be called pi. Whether that's what is going to happen, we're going to wait and see. But I have some big connections that I want to show you guys because actually, the last year, the outbreak of monkeypox had a big pi connection. And so we're looking at something that I think could be, again, the emergence of a new virus. But before I get into that, I want to talk about this scene that I talked about in my last video. I said that I thought there might be a blackout on October 7th lasting from Tuesday to next Tuesday, 7 days. Well, that didn't happen, but I think this is relating to the government shutdown because we have the white rabbit right behind the girl who drops the apple, Lily, and right before the government shutdown, we had Bad Bunny being announced as the Super Bowl halftime performer, September 28th. So just 3 days before the government shut down. So Bad Bunny announced as the Super Bowl halftime performer. And 3 days later, October 1st, the lights go out in the White House, right? So I think this represents other things as well. It's multi-layered, but I think we're going to see something big happening during this government shutdown. And on top of all that, as I said, I thought there would be a blackout starting on Tuesday, lasting till Tuesday, and it'll last for 7 days. Well, guess what's going on right now? They're planning a protest called Mass Blackout. It's going to last for 1 week from Tuesday to Tuesday. And it's exactly 7 weeks after the October 7th that I thought it would happen. So it's going to last for 7 days, but 7 weeks after the Tuesday that I thought it would happen at. So it's kind of crazy, but it's an economic blackout. No work, no spending, no restaurants, no projects, no events. Shop local, non-MAGA, right? Democratic protest, mass blackout. So that's pretty crazy. But during this blackout, or when the room goes dark, and this could also happen, this could also be related to next month, relating to this, this mass blackout economic protest. But whatever is going to happen, something big's going to happen relating to this apple splitting open. And I'm going to show you some connections relating to the number 8, connecting to Apple, some other things that have already happened. But as I said before, this girl represents Alice from Alice in Wonderland. We have the white rabbit behind here. So she drops the apple, it splits into 2 8 shapes. I'm going to start with a few dates. October 23rd, it was 88 years, 8 days after Linda Lavon was born. Well, she was the main character in the Star of Alice. And it was 8,800 days and 8 days after 9/11. So that's very interesting. Then I'm going to get into the pi connections because Bill Gates was hit in the face with a pi in 1998 on February 4th to 1023. Well, that's the 888th composite. The number of days, 10,123 days since Gates was hit in the face with the pi. We have the 888 again. 888s with the girl who played Alice, 888s with 9/11, 888s with Bill Gates getting hit in the face with a pi. As I said, I thought we could be seeing the emergence of possibly a pi variant because that would be the next COVID variant name after Omicron. well, we didn't hear anything about a pi variant yet, but sometimes, when something is publicly announced, an outbreak or something, they trace the first case back to a certain date. So, that could be one possible reason, because I want to show you some other dates that are relevant. But anyways, the guy who threw the pi at Bill Gates also equals 888 and reverse Sumerian. So that's pretty crazy, all these 888 connections I got with this. Not only that, the age of Bill Gates, if you include the end date in weeks, well, it equals 3141. That's the first 4 numbers of pi. So there's no way, I don't think this is a coincidence here. Because I want to show you this. I don't know if I showed it right here, but oh yeah. Bill Gates was hit in the face with a pi in Brussels, Belgium. Well, Bill Gates also was part of a pandemic tabletop exercise called Catastrophic Contagion, and that was on October 23rd in Brussels, Belgium, the same place that Bill Gates was hit in the face with a pi. His age is the 3141 composite. So there's way too much here to be this coincidence here. Then we had Event 201. Remember that? The coronavirus simulation on October 18th, 2019. Well, look at to October 23rd from Event 201. It's 314 weeks. This is on the birthday of Ignatius of Loyola, and his name sums to 201. William Henry Gates, Bill Gates' full name, sums to 201. World Health Organization in Latin is 2083. That's the 314th prime number. Now, I showed you that scene with the apple splitting into 2 8 shapes. It split in half. Well, actually, Apple did split in half its stock on September 29th, when it wasn't worth as much, because if it dropped 50% today, in one day, that would be pretty crazy. But anyways, it dropped 51.9% on September 29th, 2000. Well, if we go forward, the 888 connection from that split, look what we have. We have the inauguration of Donald Trump and Vance, right? And if you go 888 days after this Apple split, it was the year of the snake. It began January 29th, and we had this massive plane crash over the Potomac, right? With colliding with a helicopter. Then if we go to Friday, October 10th, we had this massive stock market crash. By the way, Cupertino, California, founded on 10/10/1955. That's where Apple is located. Well, that was the 8,008th composite number in days after Apple's 50% drop. So there's already something big connecting to this 8/8 connection and the Apple, right? The word lightning strike equals 88. By the way, Decoding with Cody just did an awesome video talking about the connections with lightning in October 23rd. I'm not going to go into all that, but go watch his video. I'm just going to touch on it a little bit. But there's definitely a connection with lightning and the Apple splitting and iPet Goat 2. So we got these 8/8 connections with 9/11, Linda Levon, the main character of Alice, 888 composite number after Gates was hit in the face with a pi, to October 23rd. It's also 4888 days after Turning Point was founded. By the way, Turning Point equals 88. And Charlie Kirk had the lightning bolt logo on the Prove Me Wrong. What do we see here in iPet Goat 2? We see Obama. By the way, I've already talked about this, but I'm going to bring it up again because it's relevant. Barack Obama looking down at the split apple, and his name means lightning. We see another image, something else that is split, a brain that is split by a lightning strike. And by the way, I mentioned before that the movie Pi, they show a brain in that movie, and he actually drills a hole into his head. The main character at the end of the movie drills a hole into the head. So there's definitely a brain connection in the movie Pi. And as I've speculated before, we could be looking at a new virus that affects the brain. And there's one other thing that's split by lightning. It's Psalm 23. But the lightning is split close to where these numbers are, the 2, 3. And, October 23rd, we just had the big 8-8 connections to October 23rd. And by the way, on 9/11, George Bush read Psalm 23, verse 4, which sums to 88. And something that decoding with Cody, I'm just taking some of his information because it's relevant to also what I'm talking about here. He goes into it much further. Like I said, go watch his video. He's very, very interesting what he talks about. And, he pointed out that it's the birthday of Ignatius of Loyola, and his name sums to 201. Lightning strikes equals 201. I showed you guys the connection with event 201 to October 23rd with the Pi connection, 314 weeks. Lightning strike also equals Latin in 534, and it was 534 years after his birth. And another goddess, the Hindu goddess of lightning, it sums to 534 in reverse Sumerian. So that is a very interesting as well addition to what I'm talking about. And another thing that he mentioned, the Roman god Jupiter, equivalent to Zeus, represents Thursday. And October 23rd was a Thursday, Jupiter's day. But look at what this is. I've talked about this before. The apple also represents Jupiter. This is an old slide that I have. We have the spot on the apple, right? So there's a big connection with the 88, the Jupiter, the Pi connection, because the apple is a sphere, right? And how do you find the circumference of a circle? It's like a circle. An apple's a circle. You use pi times the diameter, and you have to essentially split the circle, because when you find the diameter, you're splitting it, right? You're splitting it in half. You're splitting it in half times pi. So that makes a lot of sense, the apple splitting it, relating to the number pi, right? Now, October 23rd leaves 69 days remaining in the year. Pi in Latin equals 69. 314 reduction, the number of pi, 3.14, right? 69. The South Korean president sang American Pie in the White House on April 26, 2023 to October 23rd, 911 days. So I showed this before. World Health Organization equals 2083, the 314th prime. Look what we have coming up just a few days later. On October 27th. It's the 322nd Mercury year of the WHO, World Health Organization, being founded. And how I showed you guys the Pi connection to October 23rd and event 201, but to October 27th, it's 2201 days from event 201. But it's also 6 years and 9 days. And I showed you guys that pi equals 69 as well as 314 equals 69. And from the pandemic being declared, it's 2,056 days. 256 is the 16th square. By the way, pi is the 16th letter. It also equals 16. And 256 is the 201st composite number. Look what else Monday, October 27th is. It's 227 days after the Pi Day lunar eclipse. 227 is also connected to the pi number, right? Because 22 divided by 7 is 3.14. Even in the movie The Life of Pi, the boy rides the ocean waves for 227 days. Now look what we had 227 days before the Pi eclipse. It was the outbreak of monkeypox being declared in the Congo. Then on August 14th, 2024, last year, we had the World Health Organization declaring a public emergency of international concern due to the monkeypox. And that was the 227th day of the year. So that was 227 days before the outbreak was announced. So are we going to have something being announced on October 27th? The 322nd Mercury year after the World Health Organization being founded, and 227 days after this Pi eclipse. I mean, there's a lot of evidence, definitely. Sometimes it looks like something's going to happen, it doesn't. But man, this sure does look like something's going to happen. We're going to have to wait and find out. But it's very, very interesting with these connections. It's also really interesting, just simply what the date is in the Mayan calendar, because it's 13-0-13-0-13. By the way, they say the Mayan calendar began minus over 3000 BC or something like that. It never repeats. So we've never seen these numbers. It's always different. But when they said the world was going to end, October 21st, 2012, that's when it was 13-0-0-0-0. When it was 13-0-13-0-0, that was actually Charlie Kirk's birthday, which is interesting. But again, this October 27th, 313's very interesting with the Mayan calendar as well. Then I'm also wondering about Halloween, because when you look at from the time frame that Bill Gates was hit in the face with a pi, well, you have a quadruple 8 connection. 8888 composite number, right? 10,131 days. Not only that, as I said, Obama's looking down at the split apple, splits into 2 8 shapes. Halloween will be 80. It's always 88 days after Obama's birthday. But this year, it's 64 years and 88 days. Well, 64 is also 8 times 8. So we have a double 8 connection in years and days. And look what it is on the Chinese calendar. Well, on the Chinese calendar, it's the year of the snake, but it's also 9/11 on Halloween. So I want to talk about one more date. So going back to October 23rd, we saw the 888 connection with Linda Levon and 9/11. What about the quadruple 8 connection? That brings us to January 11th, 2026. Quadruple 8 connection for both. January 11th, 2026 will be 2,083 days after Irfan Khan died. Well, he was one of the main stars in the movie Life of Pi. And 2083 is the 314th prime. Another pandemic being declared? I don't know, but it's actually, I didn't put it in here, but it's 70 weeks after the other pandemic being declared in 2020 on 3/11. I know Decoding Cody, you've been talking about that number 70 as well, and showed some other connections, big connections with that, with Vance and the Pope. But I'm also looking at the year 2027 too, because just what I said, 227 relates to pi. 22 divided by 7 is 314. And I showed you guys the lightning connections, right? With the Apple and the 88 and Event 201. Well, the 8th anniversary of Event 201 in 2027 will be exactly 31 months and 4 days after the Pi eclipse this year in 2025. Then this date, 12/29, in that year 2027, is the 201st prime, 201, and that date adds to 88. Well, if you take the time frame from 9/11, it's 9605 days. You guys probably don't even know what that would mean, but on 9/11, 2001, the stock market, the New York Stock Exchange, the Dow, was at 9605. So this is another time frame. I was actually not going to talk about it until the year 2027, but I'm already talking about it on the subject, and so I want to bring it up because I'm also looking at this time frame as well. And I have more to add to that, but I'm not going to get into that because it's a couple of years away, We'll see what happens, and all right, guys, we'll see what happens. I will talk to you guys in the next video. Take care.